What's up, people? Jamal here, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the man with the power. Here today to talk with you all a little bit. Oh man. I get so frustrated sometimes with adults, parents, people that are in charge of youth, and the way that we think sometimes when we think that we're helping them out. Man, whoo-wee. I'm still a little hyped up right now behind it all and trying to figure this one out. But I think it's something that needs to be shared with all parents out there, and how we make mistakes. Again, I've been working with youth for over 25 years and have learned a great deal and have appreciated that opportunity. And when it comes to discipline, when it comes to structure, it is so important, parents, that you toe the line. You have to toe the line. What does that mean, Jamal, toe the line? That means when you say something, you stand by it and you make sure that you follow through. So what does that mean? That means, parents, you need to be careful in the consequences that you dole out to your youth, especially if you know you're not going to follow through. So those parents out there that are always like their kid makes a bad choice and does something stupid, and you're frustrated, and they come in the house, or you're on the phone with them, or you're texting, and you're like, you're grounded forever. Well, what the hell did you just do? You just grounded yourself. Oh, you made that mistake, and that was so stupid. You're grounded for 3 weeks. No cell phone, no going outside, no doing nothing. Well, wait a minute. You just grounded yourself for 3 weeks. And the other question I would have for you is, whatever consequence you're giving them, does it fit what you're trying to teach them? And the majority of the times it's not. Parents always have this one go-to: you're grounded. You're not going out for 3 weeks, 2 months. But the problem is, when you do that, does your consequence logically match up with what you're trying to help that individual learn? That's what discipline is all about. Discipline is about teaching. It's about teaching them to acquire or meet the goal that you're wanting them to meet. And a lot of times we come up with these crazy things that make no sense. And here's the other piece of it that's crazy, is a lot of times you come up with these consequences, and then you say 3 weeks, you say the rest of your life, you do whatever, and then you buckle in the middle of the consequence. 3 weeks, a week into the consequence, you're like, well, you know what, you've been doing pretty well so far. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Wait a minute. Stop the press. What did you just do? You just undermined yourself and your authority and your credibility. You just undermined it. Well, Jamal, what do you mean I undermined? I mean, they were on good behavior. No. The reason that most times parents give in is because they have a date or an event that came up during that weekend that, if the kid has to stay home, you have to stay home, so you couldn't do what you wanted to do. So you're like, you know what, they're doing pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and give in. Or you're just frustrated and tired and don't want to see them moping around the house all the time, so you give in. But what did you just teach them by doing that? What did you just teach them by giving in when you said it was going to be 3 weeks, and after a week or maybe 3 days or one weekend or whatever it is, you buckle and say, okay, you're off now? You just taught that youth that you can't be taken at your word. That if it were to happen again, yeah, you may say 3 weeks, you may say 4 weeks, you may say 2 months. And they're going to be like, yeah, right, okay. They're going to act sad, play it off a little bit, and know that you're going to give in within a certain amount of time before that even 4 weeks comes. Because part of the reason that you said what you said was because you were frustrated, you were angry, and you just came up with some things off the top of your head. That's why it's important for you, when you're going to consequence your child or the young person that you're working with, you need to take the time to stop, take some deep breaths, take some time to consider how you'd like to handle the situation. If you need to say, hey, the individual, your young person comes in, the individual comes in, you need to say, hey, you know what? I'm really upset with what you did right now. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with this, and I would like your input on how to handle the situation, but we can't talk about it right now because I am too furious or frustrated with you right now to do so. And then you go off and you think, you de-escalate, you take deep breaths, you relax. If you got to ponder it for a day or two, then you do that. Wait, but come up with a logical consequence that will help that individual understand the lesson that you're actually trying to teach them. That's what discipline is. Discipline is about teaching. Disciple. The word discipline comes from the word disciple, which means to teach. And so a lot of times we forget that that's what the outcome is. A lot of times it's not about punishment. I mean, sometimes there's a time and place for punishment, but the majority of the times when your youth messes up or does something that you don't like at all, there's a reason that you're frustrated and you're upset about it. And so you need to think about, what is it that I'm trying to help them learn? And I need to come up with creative ways to do it. So what made me so frustrated today was an incident that had occurred a little while ago. The young man had received his consequences, and the consequences are actually taking a long time in order for that to go by, for the time to go by. And as time is going by, there are parents and individuals that are feeling like, well, he should be able to participate in this activity. And it's like, well, no. Why should he be able to participate in that activity? He has a consequence. His consequence is that he's not able to participate in things right now until he does what he needs to do in order to be able to participate back in the activities that are set up for him to be a part of with the rest of the group. You don't get to shut that down short. He did wrong. He made a bad choice. So we hold him to the consequence and hold him accountable for his actions. If he misses out on some things that are really cool, that are very important, that's what happens. You miss out on those things. Our job as parents is to teach our kids. It's better for them to learn now than later. If you become lackadaisical and soft and allow that youth not to feel the full brunt of that consequence in that moment, then you've not helped them to understand that there are consequences. I keep using the word consequences to your actions. And so you got to be mindful about what consequences you do give. This isn't about trying to be best friends and be cool with your kid, and all. This is about helping them understand and realize that there are consequences, especially to your negative behavior that's occurring in your life and the choices that you make. So parents out there, take a moment. Think about the consequence that you want to give your youth. Make sure that it's logical. Make sure that it makes sense. Make sure that you take the opportunity to process also why you've given that consequence. Take the time to process with your young person what it is that they are going through or that they're dealing with. Process with them how they feel about the consequence. That is so key. You can't just, and it's highly not recommended that you just give a youth the consequence. You're grounded for 3 weeks. And then you just let the 3 weeks go by and go by and go by. You don't talk to them about the consequence. You don't explain to them why that consequence was put in place. You don't take the opportunity to sit down with them and see how do they feel about how things are going with the consequence. You don't get an opportunity. You need to take the opportunity to talk to them while they're going through that process of that consequence so that you can help them gain some true understanding behind why what's happening. So, example with this young man not being able to participate in activities for about a good 2 or 3 months until he does the things that he needs to do. And yeah, he's missing out on some key opportunities at his school. He's a senior, so he's missing out on opportunities like senior day or a field trip and a bunch of other things that are just coming up. That's not my fault. That's not his parents' fault. That was the decision that he made. So he needs to feel that consequence. But what should be happening also is talking to him about how does it feel not being able to participate in those activities? How does it feel being left out because of the choice you made? What are the things that you would like to do differently next time so that you won't get into trouble again? Give me 2 or 3 things that are different. Here's 3 things that questions I love to ask youth when I work with them and they've gotten in trouble. The first question I like to ask is, what did you do, period, or question mark, excuse me. What did you do? I want to ask them, what did you do? That question is behind what did they do that got them into trouble. So you ask the question, what did you do? And then you ask the question, what was wrong with what you did? What was wrong with what you did? And then the third question is, what were you trying to gain by doing that? What were you trying to gain by doing that? And then actually there's a fourth question, which is, what would you do differently to get what you were trying to gain? Those are the 4 questions that you can process with your youth. So you understand when you really think about that. First question is, what did you do? So you're asking the question of what did they do to get themselves in this situation? What did you do wrong? What specifically about what you did was wrong? Helps them to process like, okay, I was trying to gain this or get that or feel this or feel that. It really lets them process and think about that. Then what were you trying to gain by doing that? So there's a lot of times with youth, they're trying to get something behind what they did. It could be respect. It could be, I was trying to get money to buy shoes. I was trying to get that girl's attention or guy's attention. I was trying to act cool. I was trying to be the life of the party. I was trying, whatever it may be for them. But the question is, what were they trying to gain? Ask that question. And then the last question is, well, what could you do differently to get what you wanted? See, now you're processing. There are more than one ways to get what you want. There are some good ways and there are some bad ways. And so help them process that. What is it that they're trying to gain? Let's talk about that. And when you do those things, those are the things that's helping them when you still hold them to their consequence if it's 3 weeks, if it's 4 weeks. It might even be 3 days, 5 days, or whatever. You want to do that. Another example I'll share with you is a mother told me that she consequenced her child because he was bullying another student at school. I said, okay, nothing wrong with, consequencing your child for that negative behavior and bullying somebody. We don't want to tolerate that or accept that whatsoever. That's great. I said, so what'd you do? She said, well, I grounded him where he couldn't go outside the house and he couldn't play his PlayStation. I don't know if it was PlayStation or PS4 or something like that, for a month. And I was like, okay. And I was thinking to myself, and I asked her, so how does him not playing with his PlayStation or PS4 help him deal with bullying somebody? What does PlayStation 4 have to do with bullying? And it wasn't because of the games that he was playing or Call of Duty or auto theft. I mean, that wasn't the case. He doesn't play those particular games, but that wasn't the situation. So it wasn't the games that was doing that. So, what are you teaching him by him staying in the house and not playing PS4? Actually, you just grounded yourself for 3 weeks. And what is that teaching him? Teaching him to not play PS4 and stay in the house. I didn't see it. So then we began to just talk about what is it that he was trying to gain by bullying somebody. And by walking through that process, she was able to come up with some different alternatives for him. And I don't want to share what those are because it really depends upon the youth and what they're trying to gain. And you need to take the opportunity to listen to what your youth is saying. And if you look at some of my previous videos, you'll see what listening means. You want to be able to listen in between the lines to hear what it is that they were really trying to gain. And then that way you can truly help them and come up with things that are creative and thoughtful to help them learn the lesson that you want them to get. So, parents, stop being soft. It's about love. It's about limits. It's about structure. It's about toeing the line. It's about making sure that when you give that consequence, that you still love that child. I know you most of you definitely do that still, but it's okay. It's okay to still give them a hug if they mess up, but you still got to toe the line.